This story involves some very familiar faces in Hollywood. On one side, we have Justin Baldoni, an actor and director known for his work on the show Jane the Virgin, and his production company, Wayfarer Studios. On the other side, we have the incredibly famous couple, actress Blake Lively and actor Ryan Reynolds. These are names we all know, which makes this legal battle all the more captivating. The conflict between them has escalated into a complex web of lawsuits and countersuits, drawing significant media attention and shining a light on the intense pressures and relationships within the entertainment industry. It's a situation where careers and reputations are hanging in the balance, making every court filing and public statement a major development in this unfolding drama. The central issue began with a different kind of accusation. It all started back in December 2024. That's when Blake Lively filed a complaint against Justin Baldoni. Her lawsuit contained serious allegations of sexual harassment and retaliation, which she said occurred while they were working together. Baldoni has consistently and strongly denied these claims from the very beginning. This initial lawsuit set the stage for a much larger legal war. It wasn't just about one person's word against another's. It became a catalyst for a series of aggressive legal maneuvers that would eventually pull in more people, including Lively's husband, Ryan Reynolds, and even a major news organization. This dispute is not just a private matter between two former colleagues. It has become a very public spectacle. The involvement of Ryan Reynolds and his publicist, Leslie Sloan, expanded the scope of the legal fight significantly. The media, particularly the New York Times, also found itself entangled in the mess after reporting on Lively's original complaint. This case highlights how quickly professional disagreements in Hollywood can spiral into multi-million-dollar legal battles. These battles are fought not only in the courtroom, but also in the court of public opinion, where every headline can have a lasting impact on the individuals involved, regardless of the final legal outcome. What we are seeing is a story that has grown far beyond its original roots. It's a classic example of how legal strategies can become incredibly aggressive. Instead of simply defending against Lively's initial claims, Baldoni and his team went on the offensive. They launched their own massive lawsuits, turning the tables and accusing Lively, Reynolds, and others of trying to ruin him. This counter-strategy raised the stakes enormously, transforming the case from a serious but focused dispute into a sprawling, high-profile war with hundreds of millions of dollars on the line. Now, with a recent court ruling, we are seeing a pivotal new chapter in this dramatic saga. In a truly dramatic turn, Justin Baldoni didn't just deny the allegations against him, he fired back with his own massive lawsuits. He filed a staggering $400 million countersuit. This wasn't directed just at Blake Lively. He also named her husband, Ryan Reynolds, and their publicist, Leslie Sloan, as defendants. The lawsuit made some very strong claims. Baldoni accused the trio of extortion and defamation. He essentially argued that they were using the threat of public scandal and false accusations to damage his reputation and career. This aggressive legal tactic aimed to paint him as the victim of a coordinated attack, a strategy designed to shift the narrative in his favor. The accusations from Baldoni's team were detailed and severe. He claimed that Lively, Reynolds, and Sloan had engaged in a malicious campaign against him. The core of his argument was that their actions were not about seeking justice, but were instead a calculated effort to extort him. The term extortion is a very serious one, suggesting that he was being pressured to give in to certain demands under the threat of having his name and career destroyed. His defamation claim asserted that the statements made against him were false and had caused immense harm to his professional life and his company, Wayfarer Studios, putting a specific, very high price tag on that alleged damage. But the legal battle didn't stop there. Baldoni and his company also filed a separate, massive lawsuit against a well-known media outlet. They sued the New York Times for $250 million. The claim was once again defamation. Baldoni's legal team argued that the newspaper's reporting on Blake Lively's initial complaint was irresponsible and damaging. They suggested that the Times had not done its due diligence and had published a one-sided story that unfairly harmed Baldoni's reputation. This move brought a major news organization directly into the line of fire, expanding the conflict even further and raising important questions about media responsibility in reporting on such sensitive allegations. This strategy of filing enormous countersuits is a bold one. It's often used to put immense pressure on the other side. By demanding such a large amount of money, a combined $650 million across the two lawsuits, Baldoni's team was sending a clear message. They were signaling that they would not back down and were prepared for a long and costly fight. In March 2025, Baldoni's attorney Brian Friedman even called Lively's attempt to get the countersuit dismissed an abhorrent example of abusing our legal system. This showed just how contentious and high stakes the legal maneuvering had become for everyone involved in this Hollywood drama. On June 9, 2025, a federal judge delivered a major blow to Justin Baldoni's legal strategy. Judge Louis J. Lyman made a clear and decisive ruling. He dismissed both of Baldoni's high-stakes lawsuits. This means the $400 million case against Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds, and Leslie Sloan was thrown out. The separate $250 million case against the New York Times was also dismissed. This was a significant legal setback for Baldoni and his company, the Wayfarer parties. The ruling effectively dismantled the aggressive counteroffensive they had launched, forcing them to reconsider their entire approach to this ongoing and very public legal battle. The judge's decision wasn't based on who he believed was telling the truth. Instead, it was based on specific legal rules and standards. For a defamation claim to succeed, especially against public figures, you have to prove something called actual malice. This means you have to show that the person making the statement knew it was false or acted with a reckless disregard for the truth. Judge Lyman found that Baldoni's team had not provided enough evidence to meet this high standard. He stated that they had not sufficiently shown that Reynolds, Sloan, or the Times would have had serious reasons to doubt the truth of what they were saying or reporting. There was another important legal principle at play in the judge's ruling. This principle is known as litigation privilege. Essentially, this rule protects statements that are made within a legal complaint or court proceeding. Judge Lyman pointed out that many of the statements Baldoni was suing over were part of Blake Lively's original complaint. Because of litigation privilege, those statements are generally protected from a defamation lawsuit. This legal shield is designed to allow people to bring their grievances to court without the fear of being immediately sued for what they allege in their official filings, ensuring the legal process can function as intended. However, the judge did leave a small window open for Baldoni's legal team. While he dismissed the major claims of extortion and defamation, he did grant them permission to try again on two lesser claims. They have until June 23, 2025 to amend their complaint regarding an alleged breach of an implied covenant and tortious interference with a contract. This means they can refile those specific parts of their case if they believe they can present a stronger argument. But the headline-grabbing, multi-million-dollar defamation claims are, for now, off the table, representing a clear victory for Lively, Reynolds, and the other defendants. As you can imagine, the reaction to the judge's ruling was swift and strong. Blake Lively's lawyers, Ezra Hudson and Mike Gottlieb, celebrated the decision. They called the dismissal a total victory and a complete vindication for their clients. They didn't hold back in their criticism of Justin Baldoni's legal actions. They labeled his massive countersuit a sham and an example of abusive litigation. This powerful language shows just how personally and professionally this battle is being fought. It's clear that Lively's team feels completely justified by the court's decision and sees it as confirmation of their position from the very beginning. Now, Lively's legal team is planning to go on the offensive themselves. They announced that they will seek to have the Wayfarer parties pay for their attorneys' fees. But they are aiming for more than just that. They also plan to pursue treble damages and punitive damages. These are special kinds of financial penalties that are meant to punish a party for particularly bad behavior. In this case, for what they describe as abusive litigation. If they are successful, this could mean that Baldoni and his company might have to pay a significant amount of money to Lively and Reynolds, a complete reversal of what Baldoni had originally sought in his countersuit. It is very important to remember that this legal saga is far from over. Even though Baldoni's large countersuits have been dismissed, the original case is still moving forward. This is the lawsuit filed by Blake Lively, where she accuses Baldoni of sexual harassment and retaliation. To streamline her case, Lively recently dropped 2 of her claims for intentional and negligent infliction of emotional distress, but the core allegations remain. A trial for that case is already scheduled for March 2026. This means that both Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni are still expected to face each other in court and testify under oath. So what could happen next? First, we will see if Baldoni's lawyers decide to amend their complaint by the June 23rd deadline. They could try to refile those 2 lesser claims, but the main defamation fight appears to be over. The focus will now shift back to the original lawsuit and the preparations for the 2026 trial. Both sides will continue gathering evidence and preparing their arguments for what is sure to be a closely watched trial. This recent dismissal was a major event, but it was just one battle in a much longer war. The final outcome of this Hollywood legal drama is still very much uncertain.